Today we're going to talk about how to get your pinch bowls made. I'm going to go through the process with you, show you a little hand-by-hand instruction of how to get it done, show you how it works, so you have kind of a feeling for what you need to do and what you need to make. And that's what we're going to be working on today. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about making our pinch bowl. Just got done presenting a little bit, but let's get started on this. You're going to use as much clay as will fit in the palm of your hand. So if I cup it, I can cup it between both my hands like this. You can easily see I can cup the clay. If it's too much, too hard to control right now, which I don't want you to do. Later on down the road, we'll use more clay that'll fit between two palm of your hands, some of you anyways. And so we're gonna kind of work on this. So you get the ball of clay into a nice ball of clay is what you want to do. Make sure it's nice and round. Always use your hands. Always try to keep it cupped in your hands. Then what I'm gonna do is, if I am right-handed, I'm gonna cup the clay in my left hand, use my right thumb. If I'm left-handed, I cup it in my right hand, use my left thumb. It's totally up to you. So I push my thumb in. As I push my thumb in, I'm twisting it down in, is what I'm doing. I'm trying to work the clay around to get that basic shape of what I want. I want to use the palm of my hand, kind of flatten out the bottom of my piece. So I get a good rough idea. I've got my bottom nice and compressed down. So I'm slowly working the clay. I'm not worried about pinching up yet. I'm worried about getting that clay pushed down towards the bottom. Is the number one goal here on this one. So I have it like that. Then I begin to pinch up. I work my fingers around, my thumb and my pointer finger, cupping it in my opposite hand and working around the bottom, working my way around, and slowly begin to work up the clay. This is with the right, this is with my other hand. Notice that's always cupped. I never put it on the table. This will flatten your bottom out, which you do not want to happen. Do not flatten the bottom out. That's critical. So I keep working, shaping the clay, getting the shape of how I want it to be. The clay will begin to get kind of flimsy and soft. So you gotta be kind of careful of that. If you take too long or work it too much, the clay will become it'll fall apart on you. Notice how I'm pinching ever so slightly, but I'm doing quick, small, concise pinching. I'm not pinching extremely hard. If it gets a little bit dry, I'm worried about that. I'm gonna take a spray bottle, spray a little water on it. I can smooth it out with my finger. I can use a sponge, totally up to you. Do not get the whole thing sopping wet though. You definitely don't want that to happen to you. I'm going to work my clay and work my shape around. Once I feel like I pinched out enough as I can, I'll then begin to work on the lip. I switch. My thumb goes on the outside and my pointer finger goes on the inside. I'm going to slowly work my project around. And then what it looks like, what we're trying to do is, I'll show you. I'm cut it in half here. As I'm trying to get the wall thickness pretty even throughout the whole entire piece. How to thin this out a little bit more so it's thin like this, we're going to use ribs when it stiffens up a little bit, and I'll show you that next. Now I'm going to begin shaping the bowl with using the ribs. I've got it pinched out with my fingers as far as I can. Probably shape a little bit more, but I use the ribs to help develop some more shape. Use the rubber ribs, or you can use those when you cut the shapes of those gift cards, stuff like that, into rib shape. You can use those as well. But I have a rubber rib I'm going to use here already. So I'm going to begin to shape my bowl. Now, how you cup the bowl is the opposite of your strong hand. If you're right-handed, it goes in your left hand. If you're right-handed, it goes in your right hand, use your left. I am left-handed, so I'm going to use my left. So what I do is I'm going to take the bowl and begin to pull the shape from the bottom up, working the inside, working myself around. Once I'm kind of done shaping the inside, I begin to work on the outside. Then I go along and smooth it on the outside of the piece as well. Make sure all the smooth and cracks are out. If the clay is a little bit firmer, I'd use a metal rib instead of a rubber rib. That's pretty much how you'd shape your bowl. The next step we're going to do is I'm going to begin to make a coil for the bowl. I take some clay, I kind of squish it out into the shape of a sausage, get to the thickness I kind of want the clay to be first. Kind of thin it out, just squeeze it out in my hands, and then I'm going to roll it using the tip of my fingers to the palm of my hand to roll out the clay. I'll try to get the thickness of a pencil. Keep rolling the clay out. If it gets a little dry, spray the area a little bit with some water, and then roll the clay through the water. That'll help keep it from drying out. Rolling it back and forth, kind of get it more and more round. Remember, apply even pressure. Don't put too much downward pressure because you'll flatten it out too much. Close to the thickness of the pencil. Now I'm going to cut it to the desired size I want it to be. It's always going to make these feet a little bit smaller in these pinch bowls, so it helps raise the bowl up, not kind of blob into the bowl, but raise it is what we're trying to do. As you can see, this foot I made kind of raises the bowl up a little bit. That's what I'm looking for there. If I put too big of a coil, it just doesn't look right, as we can see here. So you want to make sure you kind of have the bowl that way. So a nice, thinner, smaller amount of coil around your piece. Once I have the coil figured out, I'm now going to score and slip it on. I need my vinegar, a fork, to kind of begin to kind of score the surface I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is score both areas with that fork. That's what I need to do. So I score it. And I score where I'm going to attach it to. Now I'm going to take the vinegar, apply it to both areas. That kind of loosens up the clay, makes it like a slip-like substance. Then I begin to blend the foot on there, pushing the foot into the bowl itself. Start on the outside, and then I work my way towards the inside of the bowl. Of course, I can use a little wooden stick to help blend it down a little bit better. Then I'll come back over with a rubber rib again, kind of blend those seams, those lines, and get rid of them. The next thing I'm going to do is add a coil on the top of my piece, as we can see here. First, I make sure it fits. Then I'm going to score and slip again both areas. Now I blend it on there again, starting from the outside, working my way in. That makes a really nice, well-blended piece. If I don't start on the inside first, I might push the piece out. You may want to do that, but I'm trying to keep my bowl a certain shape, not so much of a flare to it. You can do whatever you want to these bowls. You can have them flare out, inwards. This is just how I'm shaping my bowl. Again, go back in with that wooden stick, blend my seams. And kind of keep working the shape, really compressing that coil back into the piece. Makes the bowl a little bit taller. Wrap it up in a bag, put it in your little box, keep it, and let it stiffen up a little bit, and then decorate it the following day. That's what you can do. You want to carve things into it, press things into it, find things you can do. There's some really lots of things you can use can help decorate your piece. Like I have the back of this brush here, make some really cool patterns and stuff like that. But you definitely want to let it sit for a day. If you want to work on it all the same day, that's fine, but leave it out of the bag, let it rest for a couple hours. Let it just sit and rest is what you want to do. Now what we're really trying to focus on when we make this pinch bowl is the thickness. I'm going to cut mine in half so you can see what we're trying to do. As you can see, even with that clay added on, it kind of just made the walls a little more even. You can see how everything's blended really well, nothing's coming apart, and that's what it looks like. And you're going to cover, what I want you to do is, I want you to cover the whole entire bowl that you have. Don't cut yours in half, please. Please don't do that. But I want you to take the whole entire bowl and cover it with texture. Carve things into it. One thing I don't want you to do is just take your needle tool and do this. Do not do that. That's not decorating. Find things to press in there. Practice with it. You can even use a couple of your loop tools you made, if you have them. And use this for carving clay out. Do something like that with it as well. To decorate it, it's totally up to you. If you made a couple of these, even the back of that eraser does a pretty cool job on the clay itself. Decorate the whole entire bowl. I want the whole bowl covered with texture. All right? So you now know the process. Let's get started.